Clippers team up 2 years ago. But Kawhi turned around and asked Paul George to join forces instead. Chris, will Westbrook use this as motivation now that he's a Laker?
I'm going to get to Russ, but I got to start with this. Ooh. If this report is true, that is cold-blooded.
Super cold-blooded.
By Kawhi Leonard.
You're right.
Right? Kawhi Leonard is cold-blooded. First, he had LeBron thinking, I'm coming to the Lakers.
Yeah, he did.
And then behind the scenes, he's working on getting Paul George to the Clippers with him. But look, we got to understand this whole scenario. Paul George was all in on staying in Oklahoma City. He signs with them as a free agent, right, in 2018, in the summer of 2018, largely because of Russell Westbrook. He called Russell one of the greatest human beings he's ever been around. He said he thinks he and Russell can win championships. So a year later, Russ calls Kawhi and talks about coming to L.A. with him, and Kawhi turns around and calls Paul George, and the story reported it like this. Kawhi said, I would rather play with you. So part of that conversation apparently was, yo, PG, your homeboy called me and wanted to leave you and team up with me in L.A., but I'd rather play with you. So, I mean, he was so in discord, getting PG upset, right, and bringing him with him to the Clippers. So the dude is cold-blooded. But you know what? When you're talking about competition, when you talk about can he bring the Clippers a championship, you kind of like to see that. So now let me get to Russ. I think Russ is self-motivated. I think Russ is one of the most motivated players that we've seen in the NBA. I mean, how else do you average a triple-double for 4 years? All right, something no one else has done more than once, Oscar Robertson. So he wants to win a championship for himself, and I'm sure there's no place he'd rather do it than with the Lakers in his hometown of L.A. But remember his new teammate, LeBron James, when he went to Miami and went back to visit Cleveland when they played him, what did he say? I got a list. I got a list of people, all right, that when I win this championship, I'm checking them off the list, all right? I think Russ has a list, and it's a long list. I mean, Kevin Durant, I think he's on that list. I mean, they may have patched things up, but the way Durant left him made it look like I can't win with this dude. He's on the list. Damian Lillard. They've gone back and forth verbally. You know, they've had these playoff battles. He's on the list. James Harden, his childhood friend, and they still may be friends, I'm not sure, but it didn't end well for them in Houston, all right? And so now add Kawhi Leonard to the list. Now, obviously, Kawhi's out this year, but it would be great for Russ. Kawhi tried to get the championship in L.A., but Russ storms in and gets it before him. So I just think he's adding Kawhi to the long list of players. Heck, it might be some media members on there who've ripped him and said he can't win. Who knows? But he's adding Kawhi to that long list of people that he wants to prove wrong and he wants to shut up.
He 100% is going to use this as motivation. I mean, nobody likes to think that somebody that they're close with is better than them. You just don't want to. You can't handle it. I recall growing up, my older brother, we're close in age, so we could talk to the same people, hang around the same people. We used to play pickup basketball games. My brother would always be the first pick. We played pickup football games. My brother would be the first pick. I always went after my older brother. I ain't like it. So I always used to try to outdo my brother. My brother come home with trophies. At one point in time, he probably had 3 trophies to my 1 trophy. I ain't like it. But when I really, really started to dislike it, when it got real, Chris and J-Mac, I was going after the girl. I had the biggest crush of my life. and she was talking to me, but she put me in the friend zone and ends up dating my brother.
Oh, that's...
All right? That's straight motive. Let me tell y'all something. If you want to know a part of why I got up early and worked out hard and ran when nobody was awake and did toe raises and sit-ups and push-ups, I was thinking about being better than my brother. Automatically, I'm getting to the point of where if I don't outdo him, I can't prove to myself how good I really can be or how good I am. I started getting more trophies than my brother. It went from his 3 to my 1 to, well, it wasn't even comparable. Then it turns into, man, this is a habit, and I actually can move away from going after my brother and go after, wait, they say this dude is the best dude in Pittsburgh? Okay, now I'm taking that same mentality, that list you're talking about. Wait, they say he's the best in the state? Okay, he's on my list. Now I'm going to be better than him in the state. Wait, they say he's the best in this region? Okay, now I'm going after him. I'm going to be better than him, so on and so forth. I ended up being Parade Player of the Year in '99. And let me tell you something. Russell Westbrook is looking at Kawhi Leonard like, you chose, like, all right, so you're saying he's better than me. You want him more than you wanted me. You valued him more than you valued me. If you're telling me right now, the way that Russell Westbrook is wired, that he's not coming to L.A. looking at L.A. like, I'm from here. You're from here. We got history beyond all of this. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for the title. I don't care that you're not playing. I'm going to make sure I look at you and mean mug you, hit you with, you know, the Russell Westbrook thing, like, he going to hit Kawhi Leonard like you ain't even on the court, Kawhi. He's going to be disrespectful to Kawhi Leonard. I like it. I think it sets up for a great addition to the rivalry. This certainly will be a major motivation to him, that idea that Kawhi wanted Paul George, somebody better than him, on the same team as him after he reached out and tried to, like, create the communication and the relationship. Absolutely, J-Mac.
Definitely one of the spiciest stories of the offseason. And think about it, though. Internal motivation is really one of the most important things you can have in life if you want to be good at anything, like LeVar or myself or maybe Chris Broussard as well. But I do want to focus, Chris, on something you said about Russ. You know, it got me thinking. He's kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride, right? Nobody wants to stay with this guy. Kevin Durant, he bailed. Okay, Paul George, we just heard the story. I'm out of here. Even, like you said, the childhood friend in James Harden. Let's team up in Houston, and James Harden's like, I'm out of here. No, this is not working. Like, at some point, does Russell Westbrook have the internal motivation to say, you know what, maybe I need to change something? Or, I mean,
maybe I'm the problem.
Maybe I'm the problem. And again, I'm not saying he's a problem because he's averaged a triple-double, what, 3 out of the last 4 years, maybe 4 out of 5. But at some point, he's got to do something about his game. Like, I love the ferocity that he plays with and the intensity on the court. But, Chris, if Russell Westbrook is not in the gym with Ben Simmons shooting three-pointers all summer, I don't really want to hear about the concerns that the Lakers can't shoot the basketball. We'll talk about who they got in free agency later. But seriously, Russ can have all the internal motivation he wants. Chris, it is not going to happen in the playoffs for the Lakers if he can't make jump shots. And for the last, since Kevin Durant left him, he has not been able to make threes in the postseason. I know he's a great player. I'm excited for this formation with the Lakers. They're going to be awesome in the West, probably the #1 seed. But, Chris, we zoom out, big picture. He has to make jumpers. And we can talk about the motivation to go back at Kawhi. If he can't make threes, all this doesn't matter.
Well, look, yeah, I'm skeptical about him improving his jump shot. But I can never say never, because a guy whose jumper was more broken than Russ's, Jason Kidd, he became a very good three-point shooter later in his career. So it is possible. I'm sure Russ has been working on it, but he could probably improve it a little bit. But here's where, I mean, I'm not counting on him coming in next year and being a very good shooter. And I don't think the Lakers are either. But here's where he can improve and change his game a little bit, J-Mac. He can move more without the ball. Russell Westbrook would be a terror, flash into the paint, just moving constantly without the ball, because he can get a lot of shots and buckets in the paint if he moves without the rock. We know LeBron James is one of the best passers in basketball. So LeBron will draw double teams, AD will draw double teams, and LeBron certainly will be able to find Russell for easy buckets if he's moving without the basketball. And if you have the floor space with two other shooters, then it's all the more that it'll work. So that's where I would like to see Russ change his game a little bit or add to his game because, I mean, I certainly don't think he's coming back this season as much of a jump shooter. It's going to have to be changes in other ways.
I'll leave it here with this. Russ coming back to L.A., he still has yet to win a championship. Kawhi Leonard, he got his championship. You took Paul George over Russ wanting to come, but Paul George still doesn't have a championship either. Both of them are still on the quest for some type of validation, right? I would have to say validation is the key. Even Russ getting MVP, even Russ getting these triple doubles, he has played at an amazing level, but yet has not been able to get that elusive championship. You look at KD, we mentioned KD, he leaves, and he's not, he's not winning with Russ. He goes and gets championships, and you're looking at a circumstance and a situation where Russell Westbrook's motivation 100% has to be for him to build a narrative and a storyline that will ultimately overcome the detractors of whatever it is